go. And another uncomfortable thing about Georgie, okay, this aircon is super loud. I'm gonna try and talk over it because there's no way I'm turning it off, it's too hot. I just went to the bathroom now because I was pressed to pee, and I found out I'm on my period. There is nothing worse than finding out you're on your period, as opposed to just kind of telling because you've got stomach cramps or something that it's coming, because then that means you have to, like, I don't know, go on a whole washing expedition, taking off nether garments and washing them, all right? Because you literally had an accident down there. And I was like, so the whole time that I was busy taking out a battery out of a car, I was bleeding. Like, that is the reason why women should not be kinnicking vehicles. Do you understand? That is the reason why women should not be painting walls, why women should not be changing tires and taking out trash cans. And yet Georgie Porgy Pudding Pie, who kissed the girls and made them cry, made me change a battery, or at least take one out before changing it, while I was on my monthlies. It is no wonder then that my heart too is also bleeding. No thank you, Georgie, hey? And then you claim that you're not a misogynist, and I'm like, what kind of a man loves a woman and then makes her change a tire or makes her change a battery, and on top of that, on her period? I need to understand, Georgie Porgy, hey? And yet you're in denial. These men are literally denying that they started this war. They are literally denying that it is not because of what they did to us that this started. They are denying that they are unloving, and so that's the reason why women are so gangsta butch. There is no reason why any man at all can ever accuse me of being one of those flagrant feminists that wants to take over the job of a man. I am poor like they come. Ek is 'n arme skepsel waarmee julle. I am so poor, so broke, that literally people with osteoporotic issues consider me unfortunate. The way that I am broke. It's like I have no bones in my body because everything is broke. That's how bad things are. First things first, financially, I'm in a position to be taken care of 100% by a man. And then secondly, emotionally, I am in a position to be taken care of 100% by a man because I'm a typical Cinderella. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I'm gonna eat some worms. But I'm pretty, but I'm smart, but I'm a good girl. I can cook, I can clean, and I'm godly. So I should be the kind of man that, a woman, sorry. That was not a pun. It was not even intended. I should be the kind of woman that a man would be prepared to travel literally across oceans for me, to come and fetch me from wherever I'm at. There was this whole trend earlier. I spoke about it. I bet you were wondering, God, what are you talking about? Don't worry, I'm going to tell you. Okay, in the United States, there is a whole pandemic. It's a pandemic, frankly. It is a disease spreading in the bones of men, especially black men, who are called passport Jews. They're called passport dudes, I tell you guys. You know why they're called passport dudes? They're called passport dudes because they've literally got just that, passports. They don't date women in the United States. They are not interested even in the slightest to hang out with a lady of that nature. Okay, because apparently American women are too feisty, American women are too independent, too feministic, and they don't know how to be ladies. And frankly, I'm done with you American women. It's over. I'm gonna go to Brazil and get me somebody with that Brazilian buttock without the job. I am gonna go to Colombia. I'm gonna go to Mexico. I'm gonna go to South America and have a field day with South American ladies. Herein lies a deal with that camp of men. The reason why they want these women is because they are far more domesticated than American women are, and they are also not feministic. They are happy to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen cooking for men, and on top of that, they are happy to be provided for 100% by men. So in other words, they don't contribute to the bills at all. They get paid for, and apparently these passport men resent the whole 50-50 concept. Okay, very well. And in turn, they want these ladies to be basic old school women, eh? Cooking or cleaning or having baby, complaining very little. Don't speak a word. Just say, yes sir, I am happy to be every last one of your desire. They go to South America to essentially find themselves themselves some Stepford wives. All right, well, these passport men are not only, it turns out, gunning for the South American conglomerate. It turns out that they just want any woman at all that has not been violently misogynized by the feministic movement or misandriaized by the feministic movement. They want a woman that holds to traditional, typical gender roles, which I am. So the guys that are busy flailing their little random misogynistic flags on the internet, speaking about being passport okies, gunning for South America, it turns out that they're not only going to South America for that, because I am in South Africa, and I had me a passport gangster that wanted to come and grab me from SA because I am one of those anti-domesticated ladies. Not anti, sorry, but totally domesticated ladies. I have no money. I need somebody to take care of me 100%. And on top of that, I'm super godly and I believe in total gender roles. I believe the Bible is real and I believe that Jesus Christ is Lord. I believe everything that the misogynist that wants their bread buttered on both sides wants. A woman that is going to be a total doormat without him honoring his part of the equation in loving a woman the way that Christ loved the church. And this Okie, being as ungodly as he was yet to be a passport dude, because he was about to get one until he got distracted by some things that happened in his life. And he ended up abusing me way more than I've ever been abused by a South African man. So essentially, the issue in the United States at the moment is Babylonic in its nature, where these men are in and of themselves with a severe moral turpitude, but they want the best ladies in town, and then after ransacking them, leave them high and dry in a lot of pain. I wonder how many women in Colombia, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, I could go on. Did I just say Argentina? Don't cry for me, that's in Europe. I'm sorry, but it could be Argentinian, because really, frankly, if at all it's not in America, they're trying to gun for it. If it has not been super duper made like a man, they're trying to gun for it. And because they don't build character in and of themselves, because they don't build any real girth and virtue in and of themselves, they are like ones who, the Bible says, if a man goes from poverty to wealth overnight without training, the whole earth is going to shudder under him. You can't make a person from rags to riches. The kind of popa that takes over the king's position is going to be a menace to society. That is basically me paraphrasing the Bible. Do you understand? So what these men are like ones that encounter very wealthy women, at least in light of how it is that they do womanhood. They're real, true, hard knock, unfettered, untainted women of old school traditions who still cook, who still clean, who are still very, very, very much fundamental in the way that they operate. But these men have never been trained how to deal with women like those. They're not like men of old who were genteel. They're not like men of old who had chivalry. They're not like men of old who took care of women and not abused them for being more financially powerful than them. They're not like men of old who knew how to act around a woman precisely because he knew that he had to take care of her for the rest of her life. They do not learn the basic fundamentals of how to be a husband or a man in the life of a woman that is that old school. In and of themselves, they're not old school. They're just like old school values, and so they rock up in the life of a woman that is wealthy with an old school rawness. She's still very raw, like wild honey, haven't not been tainted by the things of this world. And then comes a dude that's been messing up all his life, that's been sleeping around doing orgies, that has been treating women like they ain't jack, that has been talking down to women, that has never ever trained himself any manners at all, and then he comes into the life of a woman that is that raw, like finding a wild jungle lady and then treating her like trash, and she is confused like no man's business why you're treating her like that, because she's not used to being treated like that. She is not used to men being like that. She is not used to people disregarding her that badly, ghosting her, reverse psychology, like all these American bad influences coming into the lives of women that are not riddled or tainted by the messed up mindsets that are destroying people's way of thinking. The way that the world has been tarnished from biblical Christianity or biblical ways of doing life or old school ways of doing life. You cannot then bring a person that has been raised in a very raw environment that is yet to be gentrified or globalized. You can't just rock up in her life and continue being a globalized and a gentrified gangster. You gotta know how to in and of yourself be retracted back to the 20s. If you want a woman that's got a 20s mindset, you have to find out how men in the 20s were to women. You have to go into the 1800s. You have to go into the 1600s and find out how men in those days treated women. And since men don't want to go back to old school manhood, but yet want old school womanhood, what they do in the lives of these women that have been not tainted by the feminism of this world is abuse them. They come in and they just destroy. They throw things all over the show. They mess up. They're clumsy in that environment. They are cantankerous. They're disastrous. And they leave the poor woman freaking traumatized, like with a heavy PTSD, because they never expected that kind of mistreatment of their person by men. South African men are rubbish. They're trash. They have wreaked havoc in my life, but I have never been more wreaked havoc in the life of than and by an American man. What South African men did to me, I expected it because I grew up with it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the trauma that the capacity for it, that I experienced was already just kind of like buffered by the expectation of it coming my way, because it is my country. I met an American man that treated me in freaking weird ways that I could not understand, and I was like, what's going on here? So these passport men that from the US go outside of their country to get women in other countries because apparently they have not been tarnished by feminism. They are causing so much pain in the lives of these raw, untainted women that they're literally a disaster. That's why I believe America is like Babylon. Do you understand? They are like, I dare you to go and interview a woman from Mexico, a woman from what do you call this? From Colombia, a woman from Brazil, any of these South American countries where these American men that think that they are gold when they get there because of their currency, which is their world reserve currency, and so they tend to have a lot of money. $1 goes a lot farther in these countries. So they spoil these women, they love bomb them, they manipulate them, and then they leave them high and dry after making these women fall so violently in love with them that they don't know what to do with themselves. They are causing severe pain and trauma in foreign women's lives. And I am not a Brazilian, I am a South African, but I can tell you right now that the strategy by American men is hurting women across the world because they in and of themselves are unrefined. Go clean up your own houses. Go clean up your own houses. There's also another batch of men also from the United States who are saying that women in Africa, women in Asia, wherever you find yourself, right, where you will find an American man coming with dollars, don't get too excited. When these men give you any attention, talk to you, the internet is able to bridge the gap between the seas that separate us. Don't think that when we fall in love with you, we're going to give you a green card. Are you freaking serious? Like, they are talking about women that are outside of the United States of America as ones that are desperate, thirsty to go and live in the US. Look at the president of the United States. He is a buffoon. Look at the LGBTQIA++, etc. agenda in the US that is trying to hypersexualize children in the US. Look at the woke agenda. The country is unstable. The nation is at war with itself. There is absolutely currently not much that is very desirable about the United States of America, and yet there are men literally gloating, and it's mostly black men. They are gloating about breaking the hearts of non-American women that they have dalliances with, all in the name of, I'm not going to go give you a green card. They are xenophobic like no man's business, and yet they fall in love with the raw, exotic beauty of African women, Asian women, South American women, wherever you might find women that come from a less advanced economy country. Do you understand? And they think that we fall in love with them because of their damn dollar, and yet they don't even realize that the dollar is currently even en route on its way out. The US is currently under judgment, like in the worst way, and I am a victim of an American man that went on right ahead and experimented with me coming all the way in Africa, and guess what he wanted to do? He was trying to shove down my throat coming to South Africa because the US is so bad. I am not anti-America. I love the United States. Most of my influence as a Christian comes from the United States of America, but the level of arrogance that is currently coming out of the US, especially out of black men in the United States of America, is astronomical. It is through the roof, and I do not know for the life of me why they feel like everyone in this world wants to go to their countries. Our lands where we're at, like in South Africa where I'm staying right now, there is literally no single country, not so much single country, but there's no portion of the globe that is less afflicted by natural disasters than Southern Africa. On top of that, we don't have horrible winters, we don't struggle with bad snow, we don't struggle with like random floods, and our infrastructure is not that bad. We struggle with power cuts. However, our economy, not our economy, sorry, but our economic landscape, the working space is viable. It's a beautiful nation, and I don't know how many of my former people that I used to have in my life, including some family members, have brought significant others, lovers, like boyfriends they met overseas who wanted to rather move to South Africa instead of go to the US. And that is the case with many countries in the world today. They are habitable in a way that is even enviable or covetable by citizens of the United States of America, and yet there are people, fools in the US at the present moment, not everybody, but some of them, who thoroughly think that we are gunning for their green cards. The US might be the world's most advanced economy, and it might be the world's reserve currency, but you must understand that we are all catching up. South Africa is a beautiful country, but it has persecuted me as a Christian, and that is the only reason why I'm currently even trying to leave. If it had not persecuted me, I would never have wanted to go. And yet there are men in the US claiming that if I fall in love with any of them, that I am like literally somebody that's trying to gun for a green card. I am not living in some hut at the back of a jungle, unable to gauge what a light switch is. Sufficiently enough for me to think that moving out of Africa is the solution. We have cars, we have got lifestyles that are covetable or enviable. They look at us on the internet dancing, they look at our beautiful skin, our black that don't crack, our longevity, we look young for like ridiculously long. They look at the way that, and okay, so first of all, we're ageless, and I'm not just talking about Africans, I'm talking even about Asians. I'm speaking about people from the Asian countries like North, South Korea, Japan, etc. The way that we are being treated by the American conglomerate, it is strange, because they have a fetish about us, a fetish. They see that we literally don't age. We defy time. Do you understand? We don't age. We get to later ages. We don't also come from a culture where women are being dissed for turning 30. That's like an American problem. Do you understand? We don't have, like, guys, I never got mocked for being 35 and up by anyone other than an American man. This guy is, his witchcraft that he put on me is to make me feel like trash because I am in my late 30s. Stuff like that doesn't even fly that heavily in Africa because of how much we are like vampires. We get to the age of 38 looking 28. So it takes a very long time for men to stop being attracted to us. And because of that, I have never ever imagined that turning 40 was a problem. And now I am scared out of my mind to turn 40 because some American man rocked up and called my 38 years of age, my 37 years of age, the tantamount of me being rusted and uninfluential anymore. I have been persecuted for 8 years as a Christian, yet I have never had this level of vitriol slapped my way by any individual South African. And yet these guys think we want their green cards when there's such moral turpitude going on. Joe Biden is a judgment on the United States, and American moral turpitude is also a judgment on the United States. I'm not against Americans at all. Like I said, many of them are my brothers and sisters in the faith. But those that don't know the Lord, yes, like it, moral, like, you know, brood of vipers. Thank you. You know, John the Baptist would have called the American conglomerate a brood of vipers. Like, you better be in keeping with repentance, otherwise you're going to find yourself in the flames of hell. These men are mocking African women, Asian women, South American women after they have dalliances with them for 5 months and then go back to the US since they have burped after spending their dollars on us and thinking that we're going to be groveling after them because of their country. Whereas a lot of times while we're crying and moaning and groaning is because that's what happens when a woman gets broken by a man that she fell in love with. We didn't fall in love with them because they're American. We fell in love with them because they're men that came into our lives, displayed certain characters, and we fell in love with all of that, the sweet of a combination of what he is. This man made me fall in love and then literally extracted himself out of my space and tried to make me feel like trash for being 37 when I look 27. All the best, American. Asimo States. Back in the day, there was like a song in my country. Goods! Whatever. Somewhere along the way in those lyrics, that Fiesta or Fiasco, yeah, TKZ and Kerr, there's something saying by, I think, Chili Chilis that Asimo States. Long story short, stop acting like you're in America. Yeah, well, I shall state that again. Asimo States-imo, kare sokole rona go hota. Not hota, sorry, mara go tsofala. This is not the US. We don't struggle with age. This is not the US. Our women don't get mocked for getting older. This is not the US. We do not have an issue with our countries so much that we just want to run away and get a green card. We are not trying to marry Americans so we can get American citizenship. This is not the US. This is South Africa, or whatever country it is that we might be dealing with. We got raised with basic principles of Africanness or South Americanness or Asianness that are very old school. We still believe in gender roles. Mara, we are being abused by American men, it turns out, because they're fed up with the war that they are in with themselves among American women and men. Well, you know what? I'm done. What that dude did is literally turn me off every last American that could ever try and holler at me, because I am now scared that this guy's gonna think I'm falling in love with him because of a freaking green card. Like, leave me alone. Lost me 8. I am nar, I am vos, I am upset, and I got a bone to pick with the US, but only because of one guy. Literally, I don't know what it's gonna take for me to change my mind. I give one shot, or I give one American a shot, and they literally throw the bombs that they throw to each other at me. So this is what I gotta say to the US, as somebody coming from South Africa, los ons 8. As somebody coming from any other country outside of the US, los ons 8. That means leave us alone, because you don't respect or honor the values of our cultures where we come from. You come to our nations and break the hearts of our women and give them PTSD that they never would have experienced if they had stayed inside their borders. Fix your issues, United States. You literally are modern day Babylon, and you can't even wake up to notice it. Your moral turpitude is through the roof. You are more 2 Timothy 3 than any other single country in the world, and yet you're arrogant like no man's business. Who says we want you? Who says we want you? Who says we want you so much that we're happy to leave our own backyards? Remember, Africa is generally ageless, so it means that even our 40-year-old men look better than 40-year-old men in America. So if I wanted to choose a husband, since I am in and of myself headed for 40, and I want us to look like good for like a minute. I want us to be like a power couple. I want us to be like Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt just after they got married. The best shot that I have is to be with a black South African man, because he will likely look 30 at 45. Bring me that in an American man. I ain't trying to hate on the US, but what that guy did to me has caused me to have a bad, sour taste in my mouth about America. Like a tell, I'm out.